The word wrestle, wrestled, wrestling is used 7 times in the King James Version. 7 times. And in those 7 times, they can be put into 4 categories. 4 categories. Category number 1, when a human being is wrestling with themselves. Category number 2, when a human being is wrestling with another human. Number 3, when a human being is wrestling with dark spirits. And number 4, when a human being is wrestling with God. Wrestling with God. When you become a Christian, Paul said, when I would do good, evil is present. Some of the greatest challenges a human being will have is wrestling with self. Because you know who you are. We know our strengths. We understand our weaknesses. We know our proclivities to lean towards things that are unrighteous. And we understand the dynamics of how the flesh works, how it conspires and organizes to put us into a place that's precarious. We understand that the family traits within our family, those are strong. And if we let down our guard, we can succumb to some sort of sin or some sort of inevitable failure. And so we have these wrestlings. Some of the most gifted people have the greatest struggles, and we wrestle within. We wrestle with our mind. We wrestle with our inadequacies. We wrestle with the fact that we're so gifted and have no money. We wrestle with the fact that we have a voice to preach, but we have no pulpit. We wrestle with the fact that we can sing well, but nobody wants to record our CD. We wrestle with the fact that we want to build a house, but no one wants to give you land. And you have these wrestlings and you wonder, is God really for me? And you quote the scriptures and you cite the scriptures and you make the confessions and you look at the person next to you who seems to have come later in the journey than you have, yet they seem to have progressed faster. And so now you're dealing with this innate problem where you're wrestling night after night, day after day. And you're reading about this one's testimony and that one's testimony. And many times in my own life when I preach in massive meetings and I go back to my room and the anointing starts lifting and I'm a very human person with real fears and concerns, I start wrestling as to how God has answered someone's prayer by my hands, and yet in my own home I'm fighting and I'm wrestling with Bernstein's challenge, and I'm wrestling with the fact that we're still trying to get our land fixed and our building up, and you've got this constant wrestling match and you don't know if it's right to be human or if you have to be superhuman. Where does faith and reality come in? Because there's a real world, but you have to walk by faith. And so you got this wrestling match. And sometimes you pray prayers that seem to be unreasonable beyond the prayer of logic. And your mind says that's not logical. You're going to make some mistake. And so you got this wrestling match. If you're going to move from this location to another and you're wondering, am I going to shout people destroy their lives? And this wrestling match goes on. Sisters and brothers, you have to wrestle and win that fight. You have to do what's right. You have to be a man and woman of principle. Don't allow lust and don't allow pornography. Don't allow the simple things of this world to destroy the quality of your spirit. If you are wrestling with yourself, you have to wrestle to win. You have to put the flesh under your feet. You have to put your desires under your feet. You can't entertain jealousy and hatred and envy. You can't go to a witch doctor if things don't work out here. Wrestle and win that match. God is all. There's no alternatives. Amen. I'm not stealing somebody else's wife. God doesn't have to rip somebody else to bless me. And so when my turn comes, I'll know that it's God and God alone. But until then, I'm going to wrestle with my limitation, wrestle with my inadequacy, wrestle with my faith that hasn't kicked in yet. And I intend to win this wrestling match. Slap someone on the shoulder and say, wrestle to win.